What is influencer marketing exactly? It is a form of social media marketing that involves endorsements and product placements from an individual or an organization. They either have a strong following and or social influence in their respective fields. To answer what makes someone an influencer, it is often easier to start with what doesn't. So firstly, I'm guessing that for a lot of you, when you think of influencer marketing, you think of celebrities with millions of followers who are paid millions of dollars to promote different products. Some of these influencers are good in the performance sense of the word, in that they contribute a lot of sales, but you don't have to be at that level of celebrity to be seen as an influencer. Perhaps initially, the amount of followers that someone carried had more weight than it does now, but quantity does not mean quality, and popularity and influence are not the same thing. An influencer creates a change in thinking or behavior. If we just look at the number of followers of an account, then the most popular account on Instagram is Instagram. So obviously they don't get paid to promote different accounts, but they do this anyway because they want to show Instagram users the kinds of images or the kind of content that various people create. I would recommend following this account for inspiration, as Instagram also uses it to demonstrate its features and share a wide range of visuals, as you can see. Instagram is also synonymous with influencer marketing. It is by far the platform that creates the most engagement between accounts and their followers. TikTok is coming up here in terms of competition, but it is not quite there yet. So as I said just now, influencers affect the decisions and opinions of other people. They are often seen as industry experts. They use social media and other channels to maintain a personal connection, meaning that their communication is authentic and they also engage with their followers. What this does is it contributes to building a rapport with their followers. They've taken time to build up their following and are therefore protective over it. To build up trust, they have been strategic about what they share and who they are seen to partner with. And just like in any business, any damage to their reputation on such public channels can be irreparable. There are 3 core factors of a successful influencer, and we will go through each one in more detail. Successful influencers have reach, they have contextual credibility, and they have salesmanship. But what exactly these mean, starting off with reach? So while there is a social media metric called reach, which, as the name suggests, tells you how many people your posts have reached, reach here refers to the ability to deliver a message to a large amount of people. The audience that an influencer reaches could be through various channels, for example, the readership of a publication, a blog, a magazine, a book, etc. Of course, there are both online and offline versions of this. It also could be someone who hosts a program, perhaps a podcast, a radio channel, etc. And then, of course, social followers, which is what most of us think about when we hear the term influencer marketing. More on reach just now, but the next factor is contextual credibility, and this is referring to the trust given by the audience based on the influencer's knowledge and expertise on a topic. Let's go through a few simple examples. Look at the image on the right. So a brand promoting that their products aren't tested on animals wouldn't approach a fashion blogger who wears fur. If we have a young student sharing content around her degree, this wouldn't appeal to a brand selling parenting books. A financial trader who posts updates on stocks and currencies wouldn't fit a retailer selling outdoor or adventure gear for men. So while these made-up examples would have credibility within their field or industry, if they're paired with the wrong brand, it just won't work. Or, to be kinder, it won't work nearly as well as it could. Some people seem to have a natural ability to convince other people to see their point of view. Others spend a lot of time working on their image and how they present themselves. The communication style of a good influencer is clear, it's authentic, and it's confident. It is natural for brands to want to control the way the message about their product or service is communicated, but in the case of influencer marketing, some of this control needs to be relinquished. The influencer knows how to speak to their audience and also needs to be given the creative freedom to do so when working with a brand. There are, of course, risks around this, which we'll look at just now, but for the campaign to be most effective, the influencer needs to be consistent with their own brand as well. Sounding like a completely different person, or even worse, far too salesy, could have a negative impact on what they've also spent a lot of time building. This is one of the most important things you need to remember in today's lesson, that reach is important, but it is not good enough or enough on its own. If someone has low reach, but they have high credibility and good salesmanship, they might be referred to as a nano or micro influencer. They are still influencers. I just mentioned nano and micro influencers. There are 4 categories of influencer, which is based on their number of followers. They have been segmented this way as analysis has shown that different categories can be more or less effective for different objectives, just like any other marketing tactic. So the relatively new coined term for someone with less than 1,000 followers is a nano influencer. Nano influencers often hold influence in their local community or area, and engagement rates are highest here. They are often a source of user-generated content, which can be amplified by the brand's marketing efforts, but relying on nano influencers for a campaign where you want a lot of reach or awareness is very time-consuming, as you'd need quite a pool of them to give you enough volume, and of course then managing all these relationships takes the most time. Then we have micro influencers, and they have between 1,000 and 100,000 followers. Though you might see slightly different information here. I've seen the cap of 50,000. It is quite a jump, but these influencers have been found to produce the best results, as there's a good balance between reach and engagement, and they've mostly focused on a specific niche or industry. So their follower demographics and interests are quite consistent. Also, micro influencers, for the most part, don't charge nearly as much. Then we have macro influencers, and they have between 100,000 and 1 million followers. And here is where we see engagement rates drop hugely. Due to the volume of followers, it is natural for there to be a broad range of demographics and behaviors. Research indicates that these types of followers are most likely internet famous, so they went viral or have built up a large base from their YouTube channel, perhaps their TikTok channel, their blog, etc. Then we have macro influencers, so the Kylie Jenners, the Dwayne Johnsons of the world. They have more than 1 million followers and are most likely to be A or B-list celebrities, whatever that really means. They are only really suitable for mass awareness, so top of the funnel objectives. And of course, it is incredibly expensive. Dwayne Johnson has actually toppled Kylie Jenner from the throne of charging the most per post. He charges over $1 million per social media post. So it is safe to say that these kinds of influencers are out of reach for all of us, at least for the moment. When influencer marketing became the hottest trend in digital marketing, some people made a lot of money. And unfortunately, this idea that you can get rich quite easily from being an influencer has stuck around, even though it is no longer true and it is a lot of hard work. I am sure that we've all seen those how to become an influencer and turn your life around type posts. Brands needed influencer marketing to become more measurable as a result of this, as a result of the amount of people that were just trying to boost their numbers, sometimes by buying them, there are bots involved, and all that sort of thing. So brands definitely needed a better solution. Earned media value, or EMV, refers to publicity gained through promotional efforts other than paid advertising. So it tries to measure the value of things like mentions, conversations, referrals, or recommendations, content, as in user-generated content, and reviews. What is the actual monetary value of these things? How do they contribute to the bottom line? A lot of this isn't measurable to the accuracy of something like Google search, for example. So there had to be a solution for this. Earned media is uncontrolled media. Unlike paid media campaigns, where you can control the budget, the cost per clicks, you can set impression or conversion targets, etc. And because it is uncontrolled and there's actually no consistent way to calculate it, the responsibility really falls down to the brand to look at their objectives, their expected results, what each interaction or conversion is worth to them. There are some suggestions on how to calculate it, and if you are using an agency or certain marketing automation tools, then it takes some of the guesswork out for you. A recent evolution of EMV is IMV, which is Influencer Media Value. This is a metric that was first introduced by an influencer marketing agency called NeoReach, but it has since been used within other platforms. Among other factors, what it tries to do is represent how much a brand would have had to pay for reaching the influencer's followers using paid advertising, like PPC, social media, etc. I know it might sound confusing because after all, a brand is still technically paying for it, making it paid advertising, but that classification really exists for certain channels like Google Ads, Facebook Ads, etc. So just to say that again, what it tries to calculate is how much would a brand have paid had they reached those followers by different means, so through Google search or display, etc. Getting this kind of data is not really possible unless you are using an agency such as NeoReach, or if you have pre-existing paid campaigns that you can compare or analyze results against. But I will walk you through this example from NeoReach. So let's say you ran an influencer campaign and you spent $54,600 of your budget of $60,000. This is what you paid the influencers, and it includes the cost of creative, so images or copywriting, as this is something the influencer would handle as part of their fee. During this campaign, you received 12.9 million impressions and 641,900 engagements. Had you run this campaign through paid media channels, it would have cost $184,000, and this is excluding paying for content and creative design. So your return on investment for running an influencer campaign is therefore just over 300%, or 3 times your investment amount. Remember that the calculation for ROI is net profit divided by total investment. And while technically this isn't profit, as you didn't receive $184,000 in revenue, you saved 300% than if you were to run this through another channel. Looking back at impressions and engagements, this means that your CPM, cost per 1,000 impressions, was $4.65, and your CPE, your cost per engagement, was 9 cents. Had you spent $184,000, which is the shown IMV, your CPM would have been $14.3 and your CPE would have been $3.5. So you can see here that there is a massive difference. The factors taken into consideration when calculating IMV are the size of an influencer's reach, the number of people engaging with the posts, which is segmented by the engagement type, so a comment, a like, a share, etc. The success at directing people to landing pages, so really the click-through rate to the website, the time spent on each engagement, and then the segment of the target market that the influencer actually reaches. The truth is, just like it is difficult to measure the effectiveness of traditional marketing, some aspects of digital marketing are equally challenging. There is no consistent measure for EMV as it differs from business to business. Using an agency that has historical data and access to advanced technology does make it easier. But regardless of tech and who is managing your marketing, vanity metrics like impressions and engagements don't actually adequately address a brand's larger business objectives, and there is currently no way to track every single touch point from view to sale. And perhaps there never will be, at least for brands that can't spend millions a month. However, as a digital marketer, it's good for you to know what can and can't be done. IMV is a new metric, and it is currently only available to big budget brands. However, if you have historical data to work with and can see the kinds of CPCs, CPMs, and CPEs that you have been paying on the paid media channels, then that is a great start. The most important thing to do when looking at partnering with an influencer is to do your research, and I'm sure that is no surprise. There are so many unknowns and variables, so it's important to start with what we know. And that is that people emulate or try to copy who they look up to. We also trust recommendations from people more than we do from advertising, and some people do that far more than others. Influencers assist top of the funnel objectives like awareness and engagement above others. So if you're going further down the funnel, then you need to consider influencer marketing quite carefully and perhaps adopt another approach. So perhaps your influencers could be covering your awareness and engagement objectives, and then you could be remarketing to those people on different channels. It takes quite a lot of time to research and find influencers that will fit your brand and your requirements. Diving into the endlessness that is the internet can end up being frustrating. If you have the budget for an influencer marketing agency, then to manage this for you, definitely interrogate at least 3 different options. But otherwise, you should start with your loyal customers, and you would find them with data. For example, people who have a high purchase frequency, or you could talk to your customer service team for insights. You should also look at the people who engage on your digital channels the most. For example, on Facebook, there's a top fans section for each page. You could start here. Or subscribers who regularly engage with your newsletter. Search relevant hashtags. You can search your brand and hashtags that are relevant to your brand to see what comes out tops. You can also use tools like Quora and BuzzSumo to identify influencers. And then it is also important to explore the channels of the people that you find. Keep the number of followers in mind, of course, and perhaps split them into the 4 categories of influencers. Then get to know them, get to know what they post, how frequently they post, and how they engage with their followers. So Instagram is by far the top social media channel used by influencers. This is followed by Facebook, then YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and then all other platforms. Engagement rate is also highest on Instagram, with a big difference between Instagram and Twitter when the volume of followers exceeds 100,000 people. Engagement drops across all channels overall at this point, but Instagram is at 1.1% versus Twitter's 0.3%. There are many types of influencer campaigns, and it's good to know about them as only one or a few might fit a brand and its objectives. Firstly, there is a giveaway, and this is where you give your product or service as a prize in a giveaway, which is then managed by your influencer on their channel. It exposes your brand to their followers, or the brand, and everybody loves a giveaway, of course. Then we have a social media takeover, which is where you hand over the reins of your social media channel to an influencer. He or she would then post content that engage with your followers, and then of course they would tag their channel in all posts, which expands reach. There are affiliate partnerships, and we'll be talking about that shortly. But for now, it's a good start to know that influencer and affiliate marketing are generally very closely linked. An influencer very often becomes or is also an affiliate. Then there are paid partnerships. The example here is an influencer using and reviewing a brand's work bag. As the brand is paying the influencer for this content, it has to be specified as a paid partnership or ad. In the example here, you can see paid partnership at the top on the right. Not everyone has access to this tag, and then the word ad basically needs to be included in the ad copy somewhere, or the copy of the influencer. People often include it at the beginning or as a hashtag at the end of a post. Then there is product seeding, and this is really a strategy applied to try and get an influencer's attention and also hope that they post something about your gift of products. You shouldn't send a gift with the expectation of an influencer raving about it online. Many will, but only because they haven't been asked to. If you do this after establishing a relationship with the influencer, then the chances of him or her posting something would be much higher. And then we are closing off with brand ambassadors. Now, this strategy is a long-term partnership with an influencer. Brand ambassadors promote your brand on their channels consistently over a long period of time. This is compared to a campaign with an influencer, which would last for a few weeks or months. A brand ambassador needs to fit your ideal target audience or be someone that your target audience aspires to. So you have found your perfect influencer or influencers. What is the next step? Firstly, you should start engaging with their channels and content as your brand. Comment on their posts, perhaps share the content that resonates. It's not about saying things like, "Ooh, Susan, you look great in our sunnies," but rather being genuine. Give your opinion on their post. Tell him or her they look great if that is relevant. Congratulate them for achievements, etc. Then you should reach out directly to them as opposed to using a third party like an agency or a salesperson. Influencers generally appreciate this far more. I must add though, this is generally the smaller influencers. Bigger or more experienced influencers are quite used to working with an agency or within a network, etc. The proposal that you have outlined should be personalized to each influencer that you send it to. They need to see that you've done your research, that there's value and relevance in the partnership. This is just as important to the influencer as it is to the brand, or at least it should be. You also need to make sure that you set clear objectives and KPIs from the very beginning. You would also need to determine the payment and the terms of that payment, and then also draw up and sign a contract. Like with everything, there are benefits and risks to this marketing tactic, and it is wise to know them. You can reach specific demographics, in some case more targeted than can be achieved through paid advertising. So this boils down to good research. It is relationship building, which is expanding your network of people and opportunities to show value and grow your brand. It is fantastic for brand awareness, as most of these interactions are happening online on public channels, and this will also assist authority when it comes to your SEO and help them determine your audience affinity. You also don't need to worry about ad blockers. The value of this benefit will differ depending on the target audience. If you remember, I spoke about technical or tech-savvy people are more likely to install ad blockers than people who aren't. When it comes to risks, as I said earlier, you are placing trust in another entity to promote your brand, and there is always a risk with that. It could end up benefiting them more than you. For example, KPIs might not be met yet. If you haven't at least agreed on a minimum result, then they would still receive payment. So that burns the brand a little bit. Lack of research increases the risks of the 2 points above, as well as potentially partnering with fake influencers, And these are people who actually don't have the following it looks like they do, as they've perhaps bought more than half their audience. I do mean this literally. Just like you can buy email lists, you can buy social media followers. The communication about your brand might seem unauthentic, and this is never a good thing. So doing your homework, approaching the right people, and thinking things through clearly will greatly decrease these risks.